Welcome to Diana and the Modern Monarchy, our look at Princess Diana's lasting influence on the next generation of the royal family. I'm Keir Simmons. A quarter of a century after Diana's death, the Windsors remain a source of constant fascination for the public, and the ways in which Diana changed the monarchy are still felt to this day. The people's princess made the divine right of kings and queens feel remarkably down to earth. She was compassionate, charismatic, and gone too soon. Diana couldn't escape the spotlight, so she learned how to harness it for the good of others. Now her children are using her model to promote the causes that matter to them. Over the next half hour, we'll hear from Prince Harry about his mother and her legacy, and we'll also examine how both her sons are handling the intense scrutiny that comes with being a member of the most famous family on earth. But we begin with a look at Diana's remarkable life, cut tragically short. Diana, the Princess of Wales. She has captivated the world for decades, long after her unexpected death at the age of 36. She was thrust into the spotlight when the press learned she was dating Prince Charles. People were intrigued by the young beauty being courted by the heir to the British throne.
London was full of rumors this week that he may now be about to take a bride. The photographers are trailing Lady Diana Spencer, 19 years old, daughter of the 8th Earl of Spencer. She fits the qualifications: aristocratic, good-looking, and well-heeled.
Diana's initial, shy demeanour was endearing, but it was her warmth and charm that made her so popular. Charles and Diana's fairy tale wedding in 1981 was watched by 750 million people around the world. Soon after, the couple welcomed two sons, William in 1982 and Harry in 1984. A devoted mother, Diana took a hands-on approach in raising her children and introduced them to life outside the palace, taking them to theme parks and secret trips to McDonald's. She enrolled the boys in public school and dropped them off herself, even racing against other parents at school games. She taught William and Harry the value of empathy, bringing them along on visits to hospitals and homeless shelters, instilling in them the value of helping others.
If we all play our part in making our children feel valued, the result will be tremendous.
Widely regarded as the people's princess, Diana's popularity came at a price. Her marriage to Prince Charles, tainted by tension and tabloids, took its toll, with rumours swirling of incompatibility and infidelity from both sides.
A surprising call from Queen Elizabeth. She's telling Princess Diana and Prince Charles to end their public squabbling and get a divorce.
The couple separated in 1992 and officially divorced in 1996. Despite the split, the public support for Diana never wavered.
Oh, thank you very much.
She used her prominence to bring awareness to causes she cared about, breaking boundaries along the way. She helped destigmatize HIV/AIDS, showing compassion toward aged patients and challenging the hysteria and fear surrounding the disease. She was one of the first public figures to do so.
HIV does not make people dangerous to know, so you can shake their hands and give them a hug. Heaven knows they need it.
She was fearless in her efforts, famously seen walking through a minefield to mobilize support for the banning of landmines. Diana seemed equally comfortable with the underprivileged as she was with the world's elites, like presidents and movie stars. Perhaps it's no surprise she connected so well with Mother Teresa, who died the same week as Diana. Wherever Diana went, the cameras seemed to follow. The attention she garnered led to an obsessive pursuit of her, which would ultimately lead to her death in 1997. But the legacy she left behind as a woman of the people, a loving mother, international icon and humanitarian continues on to this day. Even before her death, the paparazzi's obsession with Diana proved more than she could handle. In December 1993, Diana announced she would be reducing her public appearances to lead a more private life. In that same speech, she said the press was one of the main factors in her decision.
When I started my public life 12 years ago, I understood the media might be interested in what I did. I realized then their attention would inevitably focus on both our private and public lives. But I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become, nor the extent to which it would affect both my public duties and my personal life in a manner that's been hard to bear.
By August 1997, Diana seemed to be in the prime of her life. Her divorce from Charles was finalised the previous year, and she was in a new relationship with film producer Dodi Fayed. She was no longer officially known as Her Royal Highness, but she seemed as vibrant as ever. Perhaps it's why her death that summer shook so many people around the world. Paris, midnight, August 1997. A car accident that stunned the world. Inside this mangled vehicle was Princess Diana. These are some of the last images of Diana with her boyfriend Dodi Al-Fayed. At 19 minutes after 12, the couple wait inside the Paris Ritz Hotel. A minute later, they leave by car, heading for Dodi's apartment. Ominously, the driver, Henri Paul, had been drinking. At 25 minutes after midnight, their Mercedes, travelling at around 75 miles per hour, hits a pillar in a Paris tunnel. Dr. Frederick Maillet and his American friend Mark Butt arrived on the scene 30 seconds after the crash.
As we got into the middle of the tunnel, we saw that there was a car accident that had just happened, a very severe one, with a large black Mercedes that had hit one of the pillars and had turned around completely 180 degrees and was facing the other direction.
At 12:26, Dr. Maillet calls the emergency services. Another witness described holding Diana's hand. After nearly an hour, paramedics working to save Diana's life rush her to the hospital. But at 4 a.m. Paris time, Diana was declared dead.
This is an NBC News bulletin.
Several sources have made independent announcements that indeed Princess Diana has died tonight. The latest Associated Press bulletin is one eerie line. It just says simply, reading off the live wire copy here, she was 36.
I always believed the press would kill her in the end. But not even I could imagine that they would take such a direct hand in her death, as seems to be the case.
The loss from Diana's sudden death was felt around the world. The United Kingdom was united in heartache.
We are today a nation in Britain in a state of shock, in mourning, in grief.
6 days and an unprecedented outpouring of emotion passed before the Queen finally addressed the country in this historic speech.
No one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her, but felt they knew her, will remember her. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death.
The next day, at Diana's funeral, the world watched as Princes William and Harry stoically followed behind their mother's coffin. It was topped with a letter addressed to Mummy. On the 10th anniversary of Princess Diana's death, as both William and Harry began their roles as adult members of the royal family, the two brothers sat down with NBC News for a very rare joint interview, their first for American television. The princes discussed memories of their mother, including the conversations she had with them about helping those in need.
There are certain things that you have to do that are really difficult and no one wants to do, but you've got to do them. You know, all these sort of life lessons, things like, you know, you've got to take responsibility for yourself and for other people, you know, all the sort of things that you talk about as families. She didn't want praise for it. She did it because she cared. And it was generally a massive quality of hers, which was why she became so big, I think. It's because she wanted to give so much love and give so much care to people who really needed it.
You've got to understand, we were so young. I mean, I was 12, he was 14, 15. And, you know, so you know, it still upsets me a lot, the fact that we didn't have much of a chance as you know, as children to sort of spend time with her. But the time that we did spend with her was amazing. And as a mother, just, you know, as anybody would say about their own mother, just amazing.
It was the enormity of the occasion and the pressure and all eyes on, as it were. You just felt wherever you went, people were watching you for just because, you know, they were interested to see how you react or what you were thinking and things like that. And that was quite hard. I think at the end of the day, the media, you just shut that out.
It's weird because I think when she actually passed away, there was never that time, there was never that sort of lull, there was never that sort of peace and quiet for any of us, for anybody actually. The fact that her face was always splattered on the paper the whole time. And for the last 10 years, I personally feel as though she's always there, she's always being a constant reminder to both of us and everybody else. And therefore, I think when you're being reminded about it, it does take a lot longer and it's a lot slower.
Every day goes by, when you lose something or someone that important to you, you're always thinking about them. I mean, straight after it happened, we were always, always thinking about it. And there's not a day goes by, I don't think, that I don't think about it once in the day. And so for us, it is very slow. It has been a long time.
I think people will always have a fascination about her, and journalists believe that there's a need to read about her, a need to sort of be reminded about her.
To talk more about Princess Diana's life and legacy and how we see that live on in her sons is Erin Hill, Royal's senior news editor for People. Princess Diana has graced the cover of People magazine 59 times, more than any other person in its 48-year history. Erin, great to see you. When we look at William and Harry now, how did Diana's example shape the people they would become?
Yes. Hi, Keir. Yes, you can see it in everything that they do, from the causes they support to their hands-on approach as fathers. Diana has immensely shaped the men that they've become. We spoke to Princess Diana's former bodyguard, Ken Worf, for our cover story, and he said that William is the living example of his mother. And Harry himself has said that he feels his mother's presence in everything he does. So it's clear that the impact that she had on them has only grown stronger as they've grown into the men they are today.
Diana was an amazing humanitarian. How are William and Harry carrying on that legacy of service?
Her most cherished causes, from Halo Trust, when we saw that incredible walk through an active landmine in Angola, Harry retracing those steps just a few years ago. When we see Harry take an HIV test in front of the public, that is continuing her championing HIV and AIDS awareness. When we're seeing William championing the cause of homelessness around the UK, one of Diana's dearest causes. She was a patron of Centrepoint, a youth homeless charity, which he is now patron of. Diana famously brought William and Harry to these shelters as young boys, and William is teaching his children about this as well, so they see there is a life outside the palace walls. So every cause that they really attach themselves to has echoes of Diana in them.
Yeah, and we've seen William and Harry. I think Harry's words were going on different paths. I think that's frankly, understate it a little bit in terms of the difficulties in their relationships. And you think, don't you, how would Diana have felt if she was alive to see her two sons, her two beloved sons, having such troubles in a friendship, a brothership, if you like, that has been so important and seemed so solid?
Yes, and people did speak with a lot of those closest to Diana who would say that it would absolutely devastate her to see the rift that has formed between her sons. That is something that the family's dealing with, and these rifts go back pretty deep, and it takes time to really come through that. But we do see publicly they support each other. William and Harry unveiling the statue to their mother last year, and that when it comes down to that unites them, and that's very important. You have to think on this very big milestone anniversary that is in a way going to play out. But there's a lot of work ahead in managing those rifts.
But that's such a great positive note to end on, Erin, that they are still trying to have a relationship, and perhaps there is still hope that there will be a better relationship in the future. Thank you, Erin. Erin Hill, Royal's senior news editor for People. Thank you. When we come back, Prince Harry sits down with Hoda Kotb to discuss his life now and what he tells his children about Grandma Diana.
I feel her presence in almost everything that I do now, but definitely more so in the last 2 years than ever before.
On my wall and in my heart every day,
is an image of my mother and Mandela meeting in Cape Town in 1997. But when I first looked at the photo, straight away what jumped out was the joy on my mother's face. The playfulness, cheekiness even. The pure delight to be in communion with another soul so committed to serving humanity.
That's Prince Harry remembering the special bond between Diana and Nelson Mandela. Like his mother, Prince Harry is committed to serving humanity. His work with the Invictus Games helps sick and wounded service members heal through the power of sports. He recently sat down with Hoda Kotb to discuss his devotion to the cause and his new life in California. Through this all, he carries the presence of his mother.
There was one woman who came up to me yesterday, and she said something that totally struck me in my soul. She said, the Invictus Games saved my life. How does that land for you?
It feels amazing, but every single games that I go to, I hear the same thing from so many of them, and that it feels amazing that we've managed to play a part in their recovery, but it also makes me incredibly sad to know that that's how dark it was for them.
You've spoken about, obviously, mental health issues. When you put that heavy backpack down, like people are lugging stuff around, when you finally put it down, do you feel yourself like peaceful?
Yeah, I think everyone ends up feeling lighter, I think is the best way to describe it. For so many people, it's about management.
Mm-hmm.
You know the things that trigger you, therefore you try and stay away from that. But what I do know is that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for absolutely everyone.
Everybody. I don't know if you feel the same way. The only thing I want in my life is to feel like peaceful. You've lived in the United States for 2 years.
2 years already, yeah.
Do you feel peaceful now?
I don't know how many people feel truly peaceful, you know? At times I feel massively at peace, but with everything that's going on in the world and trying to help and trying to use the platform and the influence to try and steer people to trying to help. And again, like, I think the biggest concern or the biggest issue that people wrestle with on a daily basis that does provide more anxiety for me and for them is the helplessness. We as human beings are compassionate people, but when your life becomes really hard, it can be, for some, harder to find the compassion for other people.
Yeah.
But what I've learned over the years is, certainly for myself, I find healing in helping others. And I think that's what we should really be focusing on.
I love that. Your family at home, do you miss them?
Yes, I think, especially over the last 2 years, for most people, have they not missed their family, right? The inability to be able to get home and see them. Of course, that's a huge part of it.
But do you miss your brother, your dad?
Look, I mean, for me, at the moment, I'm here focused on these guys and these families and giving everything that I can, 120% to them, to make sure that they have the experience of a lifetime.
Yeah.
That's my focus here. And then when I leave here, I get back and my focus is my family, who I miss massively.
You do, I bet.
Of course I do. They're two little people, you know.
I was thinking about a new life. Like, you got a whole restart. You have a whole new focus, a whole new nucleus. How does that land with you?
No, I think the focus is very much the same. Right?
Is it?
Yeah, certainly from my wife's point of view. Yeah. For the two of us, you know, this was a life that she signed up for and that we were committed to doing together as a couple forever. Because of the circumstances, we've now moved that life of service to the States and we'll continue to do what we were doing before. So in that regard, nothing's changed for us. It's just a little bit more complicated to have to sort of restart.
Sure.
If you know what I mean.
What do you love about fatherhood?
Oh, what I love about fatherhood? All of it. The chaos, the learning, the reminder of just every element of yourself, your soul, right? Just when you're not a parent, you can get sucked into all sorts of different stuff, and you maybe sometimes forget who you are. And suddenly, as a parent, especially now Archie at the age he's at, asking all the questions.
What does he ask?
Those questions of the whys.
Yeah.
He's into the why stage.
Yeah.
Why this, why that, why that? And instead of just trying to, like, I don't know, move it on, I give him the most honest answer that I can, and then it goes on and on and on until he's satisfied, and then that's it, it's done. Otherwise it ends up with, because the world is round and that's the way that life is.
That's just the way it goes.
So, you know, it's like, I love it. I love every part of it. I've always wanted to be a dad. I've always wanted to have my own kids, and now I've got two little people who I'm responsible for. You know?
Do you tell them, or do you tell Archie, since he's old enough, about your mom?
Yes, yeah, very much so. I don't tell him all the stuff that happened, but certainly that this is, Grandma Diana, and we've got a couple of photos up in the house.
In these moments, do you ever feel your mom's presence?
Yeah, no, for me, it's constant. It has been over the last 2 years, more so than ever before. It's almost as though she's done her bit with my brother, and now she's very much like helping me. Got him set up, now she's helping me set up. That's what it feels like, He's got his kids, I've got my kids. The circumstances are obviously different, but no, I feel her presence in almost everything that I do now. But definitely more so in the last 2 years than ever before, without question. So she's watching over us.
I'm sure she's proud of you.
I'm sure she is.
After the break, what advice would Diana give William and Harry now, if she was still alive?
Some of my earliest memories relate to times that my parents spoke to me, or even better, showed me what it meant to have both privilege and responsibilities. I remember being taken by my mother to a homelessness shelter at a young age, her explaining to me why the people I met there matter, and why no society can be healthy unless we take other people seriously.
In July 2021, Princes William and Harry reunited to honour their late mother on what would have been her 60th birthday. The brothers unveiled a statue they commissioned together. It stands in the sunken garden at Kensington Palace and depicts Diana alongside 3 children to signify how her humanitarian work continues to help new generations. That unveiling is one of the rare occasions where the two princes came together since Harry announced he was stepping back from royal duties. Harry has said he and William are now on different paths. It raises the question, how would Diana advise her grown sons, who are now older than she ever lived to be?
Imagine what Princess Diana would think to see the sons she adored in equal measure struggling to stay close. Her boys, now grown men, she never got to meet. She'd love Meghan for loving her youngest son.
I think she would be over the moon, jumping up and down, so excited for me.
And she'd understand their decision to step away from royal life because she made the same one.
My first priority will continue to be our children, William and Harry.
The People's Princess, helping those who needed it most, a legacy her sons and their families are carrying on today. And like Harry is doing now, Diana was not afraid to challenge the royal status quo or the press.
But I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become.
Just imagine how heartbroken she would be to see how her death impacted Harry. At just 12 years old, walking behind his mother's coffin alongside his brother.
We're both very grateful that, each of us were there, as a shoulder to cry on if we needed to.
In life and in death, Diana challenged the monarchy, changing it forever. Now, unable to advise her sons or meet her grandchildren.
I'm sure she's with us. I'm sure she's with us, yeah.
We can only imagine what Diana might say to her youngest son. Don't let duty and responsibility bind you, she might tell him. Just try to be happy.
25 years after Princess Diana's death, her son's service and dedication to her legacy keeps her memory alive. That's our look at Diana and the modern monarchy. I'm Keir Simmons. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.